Mongwana ni mwalelepo vukenjani class vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry. These are some of the stories that we're going to be looking at on today's show. Cameroon on edge as nation awaits election results due this week. Zimbabwe opposition rejects Mnangagwa term extension plan. China sends first poultry hatching egg shipment to Tanzania. And we'll have Talent Gore delivering the Zimbabwe report. As you know, there have been major developments in that country, starting with the vice president's damning dossier accusing the people around the president of corruption and the people around the president accusing the vice president of treason. And yesterday's revelation, ZANU PF officially pushing for President Mnangagwa to extend his rule from 2028 to 2030. This is Africa Good Morning. Top stories shortly.
Life is unpredictable and one needs to be protected against any eventuality. Get Santam legal access from as little as $50 Namibian a month for when you find yourself in need of legal representation due to civil cases, criminal prosecution, and family matters such as divorce, child maintenance, and custody. It also covers labor disputes, disciplinary hearings, and unfair dismissal or retrenchment. With Santam Legal Access, you'll receive free legal advice on almost every legal aspect, whether the specific matter is covered by your policy or not. For true peace of mind and legal protection when you need it most, call us on 061 292 8000. Santam. This is freedom.
Mornings just got better, Namibia. From the latest headlines to the hottest trends, we're bringing you the conversations that matter.
That's right. Bright minds, bold opinions, and a touch of morning magic. This is your daily dose of energy.
So grab a cup and join in on the conversation every weekday morning at 8 o'clock with Smell the Coffee, hosted by Diana Master and Aina Riza Quayo.
When the sun sets, the news begins. Welcome to Sunset News, bringing you the latest headlines, in-depth community stories, economic updates, sports highlights, and your daily weather forecast. Join us every weekday from 7:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. on DSTV channel 285 and GOTV channel 25, or stream us online at oneup2.com. Join us on Facebook at Sunset News to stay updated.
As we said, there are major developments across the continent, including Cameroon expecting highly anticipated election results. President Paul Biya has been in power for over 4 decades, and his challenger, Shiroma, is formerly of his own party. So we're going to be getting into that story and other Africa Good Morning stories shortly. Let's have a look at the weather. In our top stories, tension continues to grip Cameroon as citizens await the official declaration of presidential election results, which will be by the Constitutional Council, set for this Thursday, October 23rd. Opposition candidate Issa Shiroma of the Cameroon National Salvation Front has repeatedly claimed victory, releasing what he says are authentic polling station reports showing him in the lead. The National Vote Counting Commission is currently verifying and compiling results amid growing uncertainty. Earlier in the week, Shiroma publicly appealed to outgoing President Paul Biya, who has ruled for 43 years, urging him to accept the people's choice and exit office with dignity. Warning against electoral fraud, he emphasized that ending such a long tenure through deceit would stain Biya's legacy. Shiroma also called on regional neighbors like Nigeria and Chad and international actors, including the African Union, European Union, United Nations, France, and the United States, to intervene and speak out. He maintained that their engagement is vital to safeguard peace and democracy in Cameroon during this critical period of political transition and national anxiety. Zimbabwe's opposition has strongly opposed ZANU PF's recent resolution from its 22nd Annual People's Conference in Mutare to extend President Mnangagwa's tenure to 2030. The ruling party directed the Justice Ministry to initiate legal and constitutional measures for implementation before next October. Although Mnangagwa's current term ends in 2028, he has stated his commitment to step down according to the law. Former CCC leader Nelson Chamisa said the resolution binds only ZANU PF members, not Zimbabwe's citizens, emphasizing that constitutional changes require broader consent. CCC interim leader Jameson Timber added that only a referendum could authorize such amendments and that Mnangagwa could not personally benefit from them. Opposition figure Tendai Biti vowed to defend the constitution and confront corrupt cartels manipulating national governance. Meanwhile, ZANU PF delegates hailed Mnangagwa's leadership for stability, recovery, and transformation, insisting that continuity was essential for progress beyond current constitutional limits, despite rising public dissent and legal objections from opposition leaders. Liberia's Education Ministry has suspended plans to introduce mandatory drug testing in schools after widespread criticism. The proposal, initiated by interim Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency head Fitzgerald Biago, aimed to curb rising youth drug abuse but sparked public concern for privacy, costs, and student welfare. Although President Joseph Boakai previously declared drug abuse a national emergency, the Education Ministry stated it was unaware of any approved testing program. Assistant Minister Sona Torres Sese said such measures require in-depth research and review of successful international models. She questioned the lack of social safeguards for students who test positive, warning of potential bullying and academic harm. The ministry instead plans to strengthen school health clubs and collaborate through a new multi-sectoral committee led by the Health Ministry to address drug issues more sustainably. Biago's appointment followed Boakai's dismissal of the former LDEA leadership in August amid growing concern about Liberia's escalating youth drug crisis and the government's response strategy. The Central African Republic faces an escalating humanitarian crisis as refugees fleeing conflict in Sudan continue to arrive. UN Deputy Emergency Relief Coordinator Joyce Msuya, visiting Central African Republic, described dire conditions, climate shocks, and shrinking aid coverage. In Birao, 16,000 Central Africans are hosting 27,000 Sudanese refugees, 56% of them women and children, many suffering severe injuries from the war. Msuya highlighted the desperation of families forced to flee despite trauma and disability, noting that CAR's fragile stability offers relative safety but limited resources. As of March, over 2,000 Sudanese, 42,000 have entered Central African Republic. Refugees rely heavily on humanitarian aid, while local communities struggle with food security and displacement. Despite some security gains, millions remain in need of protection, shelter, and medical assistance. With aid funding dwindling and violence persisting, humanitarian agencies warn that the crisis could worsen unless international support is urgently scaled up to meet growing needs across CAR. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. We're going to take a quick break before we swing back with talent Gore as we dig into the news from Zimbabwe. It's time for us to talk to our correspondent in Zimbabwe, Talent Gore. Talent Wamkase.
Tamuka Dukana Mamkal, Mamkase Afrika.
Tamuka Hedu. It is the biggest political story stemming from Zimbabwe. The ruling party, ZANU PF, is moving to extend Mnangagwa's presidency to 2030.
Yes, well, this was started during the 22nd edition of its conference in Mutare, where the ruling ZANU PF said it will begin a process to extend Emmerson Mnangagwa by 2 years, potentially keeping him in power until 2030. Apparently, Zimbabwe is supposed to go to the polls in 2028, but ZANU PF is trying to extend President Emmerson Mnangagwa's term to 2030, which is unconstitutional. The plan was endorsed at the party's annual conference in Mutare, where delegates instructed the government to begin drafting legislation to amend the constitution. Justice Minister and ZANU PF legal your Secretary Ziambi said President Mnangagwa, who is 83, is constitutionally required to leave office in 2028 after serving two elected terms. Any change would require a constitutional amendment and potentially referendums, legal experts say, but delegates erupted in applause after the motion passed, reinforcing ZANU PF's pattern of securitarized rule since independence in 1980. The party controls parliament, giving it significant leverage, though some insiders warn that a legal challenge would be likely. The president made no mention of the extension during his closing remarks at the conference, and his vice president Constantino Chiwenga has not commented on Mnangagwa's term extension bid or the protest. So at the moment, we're just going to be seeing how the government itself, which is ZANU PF, is going to ensure that they extend President Emmerson Mnangagwa's term to 2030. But as you have heard, the ZANU PF legal secretary Ziambi has said that they're going to try and draft motions to Parliament to ensure that they extend the president's term to 2030. But as of now, it is unconstitutional. And the president himself has in the past said that he's constitutional and he will leave office in 2028. But as of now, he hasn't said anything. He hasn't said anything in regards to what the party said during the conference over the weekend. So we're just going to be seeing how the president and also his vice president, who's also supposed to take over the baton from President Emmerson Mnangagwa during the 2028 elections, is going to take this, or whether he's going to comment on these plans by his party.
Well, Talent, to a lot of political analysts, this move is about as predictable as seeing the president wearing his scarf. But I have to ask, because you are on the ground in Zimbabwe, what is the speculation surrounding Constantino Chiwenga currently? Are people expecting a political move or otherwise?
Well, it's a 50-50. Some are expecting that, but some are not. Some are saying that the vice president has been weakened because his allies have been moved from powerful positions to smaller positions within the ruling party and the government. So people are saying that the vice president has been weakened, so there is a chance that he's not do anything because he doesn't have powerful allies. Some are saying that most of his allies who were in the military have been left rather, and some have been moved to lesser positions. It's a 50-50 chance. Some are saying that something is going to happen. The vice president is still powerful when it comes to having military power. Some are saying so it's going to happen. They are just speculations. They're just speculations. People are speculating, and so not really sure as to what is going to happen. The it's a green area, so we're not really sure as to what is going to happen. Is the vice president going to do something, or is just going to let it go? We are not really sure.
All right, talent. We'll certainly be keeping an eye on that. I mean, we don't have a choice, do we? Now, in one of the most horrific stories of last week, that horrible bus accident in Limpopo, speed, brake failure, and overloading have been found to be behind the disaster. And this is according to a South African probe.
Yes, South Africa's Transport Ministry says a combination of brake failure, speeding, and overloading caused the horror crash in Limpopo that claimed 43 lives and injured dozens more on October 12. Transport Minister Barbara Cressy and her deputy on Friday received the preliminary findings of an investigation by the Road Traffic Management Corporation into the tragedy, which involved a bus traveling from South Eastern Cape to Harare. The Zimbabwe registered DNC coaches bus had passengers from Zimbabwe, Malawi, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The report found that the bus and trailer had only 5 of 10 brakes working, with one brake completely non-functional and the trailer suspension poorly repaired. None of the trailer's 4 brakes were operational. Investigators said the driver was aware of the mechanical defects and had his driving to compensate, but still went too fast for the conditions while descending a mountain pass. The bus was also overloaded, carrying 91 passengers despite a seating capacity of 62 and a trailer filled with luggage. 11 of those on the board were children aged between 3 and 5. The RTMC said 43 people died, 34 were seriously injured, and 6 sustained minor injuries. 8 others refused treatment and left the crash scene before their details could be recorded. Weather and road conditions were ruled out as contributing factors to the accident. So the RTMC said that brake failure and overspeeding and overloading were the major causes of the accident, which claimed 43 people in Malawi, in Limpopo, who were on their way to Zimbabwe. The bus had Zimbabweans, Malawians, and others from the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Talent, and sadly, we broke the news. We found out late last night that the 44th person also sadly passed away. We do commend the Zimbabwean and Malawian governments for who announced yesterday that they would be paying the costs with regards to those losses. We now move over to some medical news. A doctor has lost his appeal over blood transfusion beliefs. Apparently, his beliefs don't allow him to permit blood transfusions.
Yes, the High Court High Court struck off of the Raw, a constitutional challenge by Harare-based medical practitioner Dr. Salam Said, who was banned from general practice because his faith forbids him from administering blood transfusions. Justice Samuel Deme ruled that Said's application was premature and that he should have first pursued the normal appeal process provided under the Professions Act before turning to constitutional litigation. The applicant ought to have exhausted the appeal procedure before resorting to a remedy. Justice Davis said the application was prematurely instituted before exhausting other legal risks. Dr. Sahidi had 3 respondents, the medical and the medical practitioners council, health professionals of Zimbabwe, and the Minister of Health and Childcare. Ultimately, the court found that Section 85.2 of the Constitution, which guarantees access to courts, could not override the subsidiary principle, and that the matter must first be handled through existing statutory channels. The application was therefore struck from the roll in order as to cost, as the judge noted the case in constitutional issues of public interest. The judge said that this is a constitutional matter which does have a bearing on the public interest, in order that there shall be no order as to cost is appropriate in circumstances. The ruling means that Dr. Saidi remains barred from general medical practice, must challenge the disciplinary decision through the Health Professions Authority's appeal process before pursuing constitutional remedies. So as of now, the doctor is not allowed to practice, and he has to first go to the Health Professionals Authority before he can then go to the courts. But the High Court of Zimbabwe has since struck off his case from the court roll. So as of now, he has no case, but he has to go back to the health professionals, and he is still barred from actually taking part in the medical profession.
All right, Talent, we're nearing the end of the show. Could you please concisely, and by the way, that was a very interesting story. We definitely need to talk about that in our chats a little later, but please get into the story of prisons overcrowding and reaching 300%, and this is according to the parliament.
Yes, overcrowding in Zimbabwe's prisons has reached alarming levels, with some correctional facilities operating at up to 300% capacity. Human Rights said that several prisons, that most facilities are operating far beyond their designated capacity. In its report on the state of prisons, the committee said congestion levels ranged between 200 and 300%, making overcrowding one of the most critical and persistent challenges facing the Zimbabwe prisons and correctional services. The committee noted that Gwanda Prisons was holding 210 inmates against a capacity of just 60, representing 30% overcrowding. While Gurubi Maximum Prison had 2,689 capacity in facilities designed for 114 prisoner inmates rather. So there's a whole lot that the report is stating, but those are just the highlights as to see how much or how many people these prisons are carrying, of which they are carrying way above their capacity. They are overcrowding, so something has to be done to ensure that these prisons, they reduce the number of inmates that they are holding.
Thank you very much, Talent, for bringing us those potent updates from Zimbabwe. We'll certainly be needing a whole lot of input from you within the next couple of weeks, because we're on the edge with regards to what's happening, particularly politically in the country.
Yes, you're welcome, Ashwin, and thank you very much for having me.
All right, we close off with the Zimbabwe report. DSTV 285, GOTV 25, 1up2.com, and NTV Africa on YouTube is where you can find this show. On 1up2.com, if you click the echo icon, you can have a look at this exact episode and other episodes of your choosing, not just from Africa Good Morning, but from the wonderful programming at Network Television. My name is Ashwin Bedi. Swera Shakanaka.